Jai Janardhan student. Last video we have seen the meaning of the poem, that is wind, and in this video I am explaining about the literary devices. So let me throw a light on the literary devices of this poem. Begins with the rhyme scheme. The entire poem is written in a free verse so that there is no rhyme scheme followed in the poem. Next it comes figure of speech. The first figure of speech, that is anaphora, which observed through these lines. You can see here, second line start with don't word, third line start with the don't word, and fourth line start with the don't word. So as I have explained already, anaphora means a figure of speech in which a word is repeated at the starting of the two or more consecutive lines. So here you can see three lines start with the same word. So second, third and fourth line begins with the word don't. So this line followed the figure of speech, that is anaphora. Again next also you can see the sixth line, sixth start with you, seventh and eighth, all three lines start with the same word. So this lines also following the figure of speech, that is the anaphora. Next figure of speech it comes, that is repetition. Repetition means a figure of speech in which a word is repeated. See here you can see crumbling word is repeated near about 7 times in this 4 line. See here. So the word crumbling repeated many times, near about 7 times in the given lines. It lay emphasis. The poet wants to say that the wind crushes everything that comes in its way. That is why he keeps repeating the word crumbling. So these lines are following or it suggesting the figure of speech, that is the repetition. Next one it is the next figure of speech which is used into this poem, that is alliteration. Alliteration means a figure of speech which repetition of the consonant sound in a close connection. You can see here won't, what, v sound is repeated in a close connection, means in a one line. Again in next line you can see the sound again were only repeated through the wind and wick, then the first sound through the fire and flourish, with a close connection they are repeated. So these lines are suggesting the figure of speech, that is alliteration. Next figure of speech is the personification. Personification means a figure of speech which personified the inanimate object. Here in whole poem wind is personified through the addressing word you. You can see here, here you tore, to whom it is addressed? To the wind. You brought, you are clever. So this you is suggesting that you wind is personified in this poem, and this you are means poet personified here. Wind means poet treated wind as a person. So these lines are following the figure of speech, that is the personification. And the last figure of speech which is explained in this poem, that is the symbolism. In whole poem you can see a thing which refers to other things. That means here wind is the symbol and it refers to the challenges of life, or it symbolizes the adversities of our life. So last figure of speech which is explained in this poem, that is the symbolism. Through the whole poem wind is symbolizes the challenges, or we can say the adversities of the life. Very shortly I'll summarize the whole figure of speech. See here, whole literary devices. As I said in the starting only, this poem follows the free verses, so there is no rhyme scheme. Near about 5 figure of speech are used by the poet. The first one, it is the anaphora. Anaphora means a figure of speech in which the with a particular word near about 2-3 lines are get started. So second, third, fourth line is started with the don't word, and line 6, 7th, 8 started with the you word. Second figure of speech, that is personification. Whole poem is personified. Wind is personified in the whole poem. How we come to know? Because wind is addressed by the word you here, and it personified, it is treated as a human being. Third figure of speech which is used in this poem, that is repetition. So the crumbling word is repeated near about 7 times in the lines, and it explains that, it emphasizes that the wind has a power to crushes everything which comes its way. Next figure of speech, that is alliteration. Alliteration means in which the sound is repeated in a close connected lines. So here wind, we knows, won't, want. So wa sound is repeated through this word in a close connection. So these lines are using, or it is explaining the alliteration. And the last one, symbolism. Wind is symbolizes in the whole poem of the challenges of the human life, or it is symbolizes the adversities of our human life. So in this way, these are the literary terms of this poem. I think you understood very well, and thank you. Have a nice day. Stay home, stay safe.